Okay, for all of you who complain about my vertical video, here's a non-vertical video because the background's worth doing. There we go. How's that? I'm gonna get monstered here. This is Tel Aviv beach, Metzitzim. In fact, yesterday I published something in Old News Media, which was an answer to Haaretz, the Haaretz hit piece against me and Tommy. And it starts off by saying that I first met Tommy Robinson at this beach, Metzitzim Beach in Tel Aviv. Because when Tommy came to Israel, he arrived at some crappy hour in the morning, and I said, I can't come and pick you up from the airport, so just get yourself in a taxi and come here. And he came here in November, and it was sunny like this. It wasn't as hot as this. And he and his friends waited at this restaurant that's right behind me. Let's see him. Also, this is another interesting place because when the Rebel crew were here, Gavin McInnes gave a little stand-up show right here, and a whole bunch of, I don't know, 100, 150 people or whatever, fans of Rebel came to see Gavin and the other rebels, and Ezra and Sheila, and they were all here, and we had a good time. Now, so in Alt News Media, there's my piece about, it's answering Haaretz. Haaretz right, the usual hit piece, alt-right, far-right, neo-Nazi, racist, all that crap, and they throw it at Tommy, they throw it at me. It's the most ludicrous thing ever. Mostly one ignores that kind of crap, but I think sometimes you have to answer it a little bit. There is a problem here in Israel, which is that the news media is so dominated with left-wing thinking, and that's what Haaretz is. I don't know if the wind is, how bad the wind is on this phone. This left-wing dominated media causes such chaos that people here have no idea what's going on in Europe. They really don't understand. They don't understand the Eastern European freedom movements, the movements that don't want the EU. They don't get that. They don't understand who Tommy is. They don't understand any of this stuff because they're so ill-served by the media. And Haaretz writing crap nonsense about me, and the Jewish Chronicle doing the same thing in England. It means that basically Jews outside of Israel are siding generally with the wrong sides, unfortunately. And in Israel, where we are nationalistic, and yesterday something terrible happened, which is that we threw Jews out of their homes in Judea, Samaria, and that's all based on we're throwing Jews out of their homes because they built on land that planning hadn't been done properly. They hadn't made the planning applications. It was illegally built homes by our crazy law. But our law here is crazy because what we do is we've incorporated into our land laws in Israel, we've incorporated parts of Ottoman law, parts of Jordanian law from when Jordan illegally occupied between 1948 and 1967 the whole territory which is to the west of the Jordan River, which they called the West Bank because they had to invent a name that had never existed before because they didn't want to call it Judea and Samaria. We've incorporated parts of Jordanian law, and the king in Jordan was just handing out land because he needed popular support. So what did he do to win over people? He gave them a bit of land. He said, hey, that's your land. Now, Israeli law, unfortunately, is still trying to recognize. So someone shows up with a piece of paper that the Jordanian king gave their grandfather some land, and we try to recognize that. So we try to marry British property law, Ottoman property law, and Jordanian property law, and it's a whole big mess out there. So, you know, when you hear a term that the enemy uses, something like private Palestinian land, know that can be a gift from the Jordanian king 40 years ago that someone never saw, never walked on, and never paid any taxes for, and never even paid for. But yet they've got a piece of paper saying this was a gift of the Jordanian king, and somehow today Israeli law recognizes it. Anyway, that's going on. Within Israel, we have to have a fight, you know, a political battle for our soul here to recognize what we are. And so there's sort of very little bandwidth for understanding what's going on in Europe. All we do know is that the EU as an institution sends money to people who fight us in the courts internally. And they send money to, the EU sends money to the Palestinian Authority, and the Palestinian Authority gives that money to terrorists who are in prison. So we're pretty much sure here that the EU is a malign influence. We don't like it. And I think what's going to happen here is it's going to come around to people who fight the EU will be well respected here in Israel. And Tommy fights the EU, he fights Islamization. Again, the only problem here, the only reason we can't live in peace with Arab neighbors is Islam. I mean, there is enough land. Judea, Samaria is largely empty. There's plenty of place to build. The beaches are lovely. There are Arabs who visit these beaches, of course. And, you know, we have a big Arab population here, which we can get along with, as long as the Islam, the desire to kill all of us is suppressed. And that's it. Without that, this place is wonderful. In fact, it's wonderful anyway. So I hope you enjoyed a horizontal video with the nice view. The sun is brutal, but there we go. That's a short one for today. I've got to get back to my office. This is Brian of London on the beach in Tel Aviv, signing out.